The Chiropractic Philanthropist, episode 259.
And I lost, my partner. I lost any sense of financial stability that I remotely had. At that point, the most logical thing was for him to buy me out of our practice.
Starting your own practice is hard for many chiropractors. It's riddled with both struggles and successes. But here at the Chiropractic Philanthropist, we make it easy by having chiropreneurs and entrepreneurs share their struggles and lessons learned in life and business so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. And now here's your host, Dr. Ed Osborne.
My guest today on the Chiropractic Philanthropist is Dr. Melissa Longo. Dr. Melissa is a family and pediatric chiropractor for the last 15 years in practice in Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. She runs a family, home-based practice with a consistent growth and retention that is incredible. This also allows her the flexibility to be a great mom to two active boys. In addition to her practice, Dr. Melissa produces and hosts a TV show in her local community on healthy living and is featured as a health expert on many other shows. She's passionate about parenting, entrepreneurial life, and helping other women and chiropractors. Dr. Melissa also launched two podcasts in 2016, Everyday Rockstar Moms and Rockstar Doctor Moms, a chiropractic podcast dedicated to women. Now, before we get to Dr. Melissa, let's go ahead and thank our sponsor for today's episode, and that is innate.biz. Chiropractors, would you like more time to dig into the powerful philosophy like the Green Books? What if you could use your commute to listen to over 20 hours worth of some of the best recordings ever made by the developer of chiropractic? That's right, over 20 hours of BJ Palmer's best speeches, lectures, and interviews. Head over to innate.biz, enter the discount code TCP10 to get a 10% discount. Check out the free samples at innate.biz and download your collection today. That's innate.biz. Melissa, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ed. Thanks for having me here today.
I'm excited. I'm always excited for every TCP podcast episode. But I got to tell you, I'm really excited because I get to talk about podcasting today.
You do, yeah, you do.
So one of the things, one of my superpowers, but also I can see that it's one of your superpowers now too. So
I'm working on it. I've got a lot to still learn, but thank you.
Well, before we get started, for those who don't know who you are, why don't you share a little bit about yourself, as a chiropractor, but also as a person as well?
Sure. Okay. I'm a mom. I have two amazing sons. One is 14. The other is 10. I'm happily married to an amazing guy. Live in beautiful Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. I'm passionate about chiropractic. I've been in practice now for 15 years. I run I would say a small but mighty practice out of my home. See lots of children and families. I definitely would say that the longer I am in chiropractic, the more that I love it, probably because I continue to see the amazing effects of the adjustment on people's health and well-being. I have had certainly a transformative last 6-7 years, but I'm really happy right now with the kind of lifestyle that I'm living, with the balance I have, with the kind of mom I get to be, the kind of doctor I get to be. It allows me to do, some other fun things like the podcasts. There's two of them that I have right now. I've also been part of a television show in my local community as well. So that's kind of me.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested too, because I think I've done 256 published episodes of TCP now. And you know what? I don't think I've ever spoke to a chiropractor on this podcast who actually practices outside of their home.
Oh, wow. I'm the first. Oh, I like that.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions before we go into your quote and affirmation, because I think it's really cool. I think I'm interested, but I think it's really cool. So one of the things I'd like to know is just, so why did you choose to do practice out of your home? It's something that, I had a large family practice with my wife as well, who's a chiropractor, and we certainly considered it. And we thought there was a lot of things that were great about having a practice in your home. And then there were things that we were like, I don't know if that would be a great idea. So what was the big factor for you that just said, look, this is going to be perfect for me?
It's definitely nothing I ever expected to love as much as I do. I always thought that I would need more of a physical and mental barrier from my practice life and my home life. I got to this place, to be honest, by default through some changes in my personal life. I needed to start a practice all over again, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit. But I realized there was a time in my practice where there was a lot of things that I considered work that I didn't really love to do. What I love to do is adjust people, and I love to communicate in the office, and I love to do lectures, and I love to inspire people to live healthier lives. That to me is like play. It fills me with joy. It's a ton of fun. Managing a team was not something I particularly enjoyed. Being a landlord, having other people rent space for me. I mean, my first practice experience was in a center. We had a lot more space. I was in a partnership situation. I had other practitioners there with me. We had a great thing going. And I just realized two things. One was that it wasn't, there was a lot more work, like I just said. The second thing is that it was really difficult for me to manage my personal life being a mom the way I really truly wanted to. So I needed to simplify. And with some other factors that were going on at that time, I decided that the simplest way would be to simplify everything, basically, to go down from having, a house and a practice to one space. As things would have it, the right location showed up for me. It took a ton of work to get the building that I'm in right now to suit my standards, both from design and logistics. But it's been so worth it. It frees me up in so many different ways. I think one of the keys, though, in a successful home practice is the setup of the house. I say that I did a lot of renovation because I wanted to get the space up to my standards, so to speak. But the layout, as soon as I walked through the property, it was very much laid out front and back. So right now, there's a parking in the back. People come in the back. There's a beautiful reception room, adjusting room, and a bathroom, and that's all the space I need. No one sees, they don't have to walk through my house. There's a huge barrier between my personal life and my professional life. So I think that's a big factor for a lot of doctors is the right location and the right property with the zoning and all those things that have to line up as well.
I have to think it's got to be incredibly convenient to be able to just make that transition. I think I was talking to Joe Strauss, and he lived across the street from his practice. Like for him, it was like he walked out the door, across the street, and he walked in his practice, something like that. But it must be incredibly convenient in that respect too, which must relieve you of a lot of anxiety. I gotta think it's in terms of I'm thinking overhead. I always start calculating overhead whenever I walk into another doctor's office. Maybe a lot of people are like that. So I gotta think that it's a really great way to practice. It must be so much fun, and yeah, it's something that I had always considered, but thank you for sharing with that. Again, it's something that we've never really touched on in TCP, and I know that maybe even some docs might have some questions about how they might have that happen, so they might reach out to you.
It's likely not for everyone, and I'm sure it's not even the right experience for a lot of people, but I think there is a right fit for the right people always find us, and the kind of energy that I have in the practice, it's still very professional. I think the level of care people get speaks for itself, and it attracts the right people who really want that connection with me. And to be honest, Ed, I don't feel that people are really respectful, right? People are respectful of my time. I have practice hours. If there's an emergency, I want to be available for them. If there's a child that's got an ear infection, I want them to bring them to me. If it's at 8:00 at night and it's in my home, that's the kind of doctor I want to be, and it's the kind of care I want to deliver. So it definitely works for me.
Well, I think it's brilliant. So thank you for sharing that. So let's head right into quote or affirmation. Do you have some words of meaning that you would love to drop on doctors today?
I love quotes. I mean, I think, as entrepreneurs, as docs, as a mom, there's certainly every day I need to be reminded to believe in myself, to be lifted up some days, to give me some perspective. The one that I always come back to, and it's so simple, it's the keep calm and carry on. During a particularly chaotic time in my life, I had it written on the wall, just in marker to really ground me. I love this quote for two reasons. The first is keep calm. Obviously, when we're calm in situations that challenge us, I feel like we're always going to be more grounded and really speak in a way that's aligned with who we really are and how we really want to present ourselves. When we get over irrational and emotional, things get heated, and sometimes we don't handle things the way we'd really like to. So I always try to keep that in mind. Now, to be honest, I'm Italian. I have two active boys. We got a feisty household here. It's not always the case, but I certainly strive to keep myself calm in any situation, because I feel like I'm going to present myself better. If it means me walking out of a room when my boys are arguing and taking a few deep breaths and calming myself and really thinking, how do I want to proceed? Then that's what I'll do. The other reason I really love this quote is because it inspires action, right? So carry on. There's so many times, in my life, I'm sure in a lot of people's lives, where we really we overthink rather, how we want to get to someplace, right? And we can get really stuck, and certainly sometimes not even know the next steps we're supposed to take. But you can always carry on. You can always take one more step, as long as you're really clear on what your end result is, where you want to get to. And for me, there were lots of times when I'm not sure the how. I know what I want to do. I knew that I wanted to have a home practice. I didn't really know how things were going to line up, but I could always take one more step in the right direction. Sometimes when you do that, the right people or opportunities or the other steps that you need to take then start to show up. So just keep moving. That's why I like that quote.
I love it. I wrote down here on my notes. I always like taking these copious notes as I go through these interviews, and I just put like action versus reaction. Like, it's something certainly that I work on, because I always want to encourage doctors to take action, to not be, crippled by inaction, like, overthinking things. But then also in the same respect, reacting and being reactive can actually be to a detriment to our business or even to our personal life. So that's kind of what I'm pulling from what you're saying here. I love that. So yeah, I'm trying personally in 2017, I'm trying to keep calm.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had it written on the wall during the renovation, and now it's actually framed in my kitchen. So I see it every day, and it's a reminder, to my sons, it's a reminder to me. And I think messages like that are powerful, for us.
Well, and I know you've kind of touched on this already, but this is a perfect transition right into a time of struggle. We've all had them, right? So those times we've failed, the time we fall on our face, and I say as chiropractors, we struggle for lunch. So where is one of those times where you were in the ditch, in the pit, and what you experienced from that, and how you learned from that lesson, and how you applied to your business and your life today?
Yeah, I love that you asked this question, Ed, because I agree with you. Struggle is part of our lives. It's not just part of chiropractic lives. It's part of all of our lives, and it's what connects us. The majority of struggles have been, when I've dealt with lots of fear and anxiety and had to take some kind of risk. The biggest one of those situations would have been when I got divorced. Most people, anyone who's been through divorce, know, the emotional roller coaster that you go through. My first marriage was to another chiropractor. So we had, we met in school, we built a practice together, we had our sons, and over time, amazing chiropractor, amazing guy, amazing dad. Our relationship changed. And when that relationship ended, I lost a tremendous amount. I lost, my partner. I lost any sense of financial stability that I remotely had. At that point, the most logical thing was for him to buy me out of our practice. So I had to start from scratch. So I had no patience. I lost some of my chiropractic support. I would have lost people that were friends, with both of us that I just never heard or saw from again. So that was difficult. As time went on, to be honest, at the beginning, I was energized and excited to get fully engaged back into practice and actually to do it my way, not have to compromise on any of my types of care I wanted to deliver or philosophy, or even the simple things like, where to hang pictures on the wall. I was really excited about that. However, as time went on, the severity of what I was dealing with emotionally, it certainly took a toll on me. And at that point, my sons were 3 and 7, and single mom, they're 3 and 7. It was only a matter of time when I knew that things really had to change. We actually, this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but we actually maintained a business relationship for about a year after we separated, because he bought me out of the practice, but we stayed partners in the sense that we owned space. And, basically I would go in with my team for the afternoon, and then I would, the next day he would come in with the morning. So we had separate practices and separate lives, but there got to be a point where we knew that was going to have to change. And as I alluded to earlier, I also got to the point where as a single mom, I was managing more than I wanted to manage. I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to be a chiropractor. I didn't want to have to manage other people and a space and all of that stuff. So the logical solution was to simplify. So this is when I think I'm getting to your question here, but the next year when I made that decision was probably the most difficult year for me, because I went from having a practice in a home to buying another property that I wanted to renovate. So then I became a general contractor. I also was trying to mother my sons, who were probably 5 and 9 at the time, active in sports. One plays hockey, so really busy life there. I was still trying to run a practice, still trying to take care of my own health. I think I was single, so I was dating. I don't know how I fit that in, but there was so many things on my plate, and there were so many times when I just felt so completely overwhelmed, so alone. A lot of fear around, am I going to make it? There's a lot that I have invested here financially in rebuilding this space and starting out on my own and doing it. I had some great support around me, but still feeling very, very alone. As I think anyone who's been a single parent at any point in their time will understand what I mean by that. And I mean, every decision that had to be made, from where the sink was going to go in the new building to the paint colors, to okay, then switch gears and be a mom now, and then switch gears and be back with your patients. It was I call it crazy time, because it was really, really crazy. Fast forward, I got through all of that, and the practice has only continued to grow since I made so many of those shifts. And I couldn't be happier now in the space that I'm in. So the gift in all of that struggle for me was I got to really decide the kind of chiropractor that I wanted to be. And I really got to decide, what are my values for my business? How do I want to communicate with people? What kind of recommendations does Dr. Melissa want to give people? And also, how do I want to manage my whole love for chiropractic with my love of being a mom? And that was also part of the desire to have a home practice, was that, my kids are now home when I'm working quite often, or if there's something that takes them out of school for the day, if they're not feeling well, or if they have something else to do, they can be around and I can still be working. So for me, it gives me the benefit of being those two different people at the same time. And I feel like I have a ton of freedom. And I've been able to really pursue other projects that excite me, like the podcasts, like the TV stuff. And I've just learned so much about the kind of how I want to measure success for myself. So many times I was defining my success by what other doctors were doing, or what other doctors were telling me, how I should be measuring myself, whether it was, numbers and collections. And for me, it got to a point where that's not what drove me. I wanted to be home with my kids, and I wanted to make a difference in people's lives and share the chiropractic message. And once I continued to get more and more clear with all of that, and I really just started to strip away the stuff that really didn't matter to me, it's been nothing but amazing since then.
I got to tell you, I mean, what I love about this story, and I'll call it a story because we all have a story, is that, you really did design your life and your business, starting from from scratch again, and you designed your life and business around what you truly wanted. And I think that that's something I want to repeat for docs, is that, the docs who are listening today, is that, get clear on what you want, and then design your life, and your business, your practice around what you want. I mean, I can't even imagine having my kids are 3 and 6, but on our pre-chat, we were talking about potty training. Oh my God, I can't even imagine, trying to do all of those other, aspects of, aside from just trying to raise these little boys to men, right? Wow. It's a lot to take in. And I think that, that's an important point that I'm going to pull from this too, is about measuring success. And I think and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that might be part of why you created what you're creating now, like with Rockstar Dr. Moms podcast, and your group is really helping, other doctors chiropractors get really clear on what they want and how they can design their practice around those needs.
Absolutely. The one thing that I felt was missing at so many different times in my chiropractic life was a real understanding of what my life was like as a mom. I actually was pregnant in my last derma internship at CMCC, and I gave birth a week after I graduated. So my whole practice life has always been as a mom. So I didn't have that time of growing a practice and then having my kids. I don't know any other way. And all the amazing, coaches and mentors that I've had provided me with so much information, but I felt there was, what I really got the most from was my girlfriends, my chiropractic girlfriends that had kids and understood, my challenges and really, really got me. So yeah, I definitely want to provide more of a forum for women, in our profession to see the options that are available to them, whether you have a home-based practice or you do an associateship, or I know women who do locums because they don't want to manage a practice, but they want to adjust people and be a chiropractor. And I think if there's anything that you've helped show docs is, the opportunities to share your expertise and share the chiropractic message about health and healing is so powerful. It doesn't have to only happen within your office. There's ways that you can work with people and share the message through podcasting, through videos, through so many other avenues, that the options for women who want to do both and want to have it all is completely there. I think what's most important is that you really get clear on what your all is. And then, like you said earlier, design your life around what that is, and most importantly, decide what your own success is going to be. Because for so long, I was designing my life around what I thought was meant to be successful, and it turned out that's not really who Melissa is and what Melissa wanted.
I mean, and I'll be like, so I've been podcasting now. Like, The Philanthropist has been around for about just over 2 years. And is it over almost 2.5 years, I guess now. Wow, that's crazy. And I have been trying and encouraging someone to do what you're doing with Rockstar Dr. Moms. I've been encouraging someone to do this for a long, long time. So I just want to acknowledge you for doing this, because I think it's an incredible support for chiropractors who are moms, but also who are just docs who are, female. Because I got to tell you, I mean, like, there is a huge difference between what many, like, so, an example is my wife, like what she wanted in practice versus what I wanted in practice. Like, I just wanted to keep seeing more and more numbers, but that wasn't necessarily what she wanted. She wanted to raise kids. She wanted to have a fun practice. She wanted to spend more time with people sometimes. So, like, on The Philanthropist, I get people who come, like, we get chiropractors come on, they see 2,000 people a week, but that's not what everyone wants.
No, and it's not what a lot of women seem to want. And what I love about podcasting is interviewing these other women that I've had on the show and hearing the variety of experiences, but hearing actually exactly what you just said, Ed, in that they're measuring their quality of practice life very differently. They obviously want to grow and they want to have a sustainable, financially stable business, but they are finding that they nurture their patients differently. They actually, they want to connect more. They find joy in, seeing generations of families. And I'm not saying that the guys don't, but their desire to push is not always there the same way. And I think there's also a ton of women who are doing amazing things in their practices and in their homes, but they're not running high volume practices. They're running smaller, medium-sized practices. And, they're still contributing to our profession. They're still contributing to our community. They're still sharing so much goodness in the world. And we don't always hear their stories, and they always don't compare themselves or feel like they're doing enough. So if I can provide any kind of, forum or support or acknowledgement to moms that are doing small but mighty things, then I think that's of incredible value. I wish it was there for me years ago.
Well, and I think that's a perfect time for us to give a shout out to a call to action to have, chiropractors who are listening who want to connect with the community. And so you have a closed Facebook group. How can they actually find you? I mean, I'll certainly post the link in the show notes of this podcast. I'll put them also on the TCP page that we dedicate to this podcast as well. Anyone who wants to reach out to me, I'll definitely forward that link as well. But is there an easier way to, I guess they could just maybe locate you on Facebook and then ask to request to join your community as well?
Yeah, I think if you look up Rockstar Dr. Moms on Facebook, it should come up as a group. But if you follow or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes too, there would be some links there to connect with us. And certainly, if all else fails, then connect with me directly. You can email me, you can call the office, the old-fashioned way. You can connect with me on Instagram. There's no shortage of ways for us to connect. And if this resonates with women, I mean, I'm sure it doesn't resonate with all women, but for those of you that it does, yeah, we'd love to have you part of our group.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And I think it's incredibly valuable to have that support group, right? So that safety, or I should say that of that group. And by the way, I know of groups like this because I'm part of some groups which are just exclusively for men. So like the Order of Men with Ryan Mickler. I mean, that's a group of men who's like, there's like 10,000 guys in that group. But I mean, it's a place where we can You know, I mean, basically you can post, and it's more for support than anything else, and inspiration, and how to just be a better man, better dad. So I know that something like your group is probably very similar. So, you know, people can post, or women can post, and they can be safe, and also that they can also get help, maybe even if they need it with their practice. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give a shout out. It'll basically be like this. So all listeners, if you actually open your show notes right now, there'll be a clickable link, and you can actually go ahead and actually request to join the Facebook group for Rockstar Doctor Moms. There's also going to be a link to go to iTunes and start listening and downloading those podcasts as well. But other than that, I mean, I gotta again acknowledge you for stepping up and being the one person, the one doc to take the reins and actually execute and get this done. And it's something that's really valuable for doctors right now. All right, Dr. Melissa, we're going to put you in the TCB time machine. Okay, we're going to send you back to a younger version of yourself. And this is right after you came out of chiropractic college. And so you have all the knowledge and experience that you have today. What would you say to that younger self?
Oh, wisdom is a beautiful thing, getting older. I would say three things. I would say trust your gut. You know, it's so simple, but the only times I've ever had any regrets in my life was when I didn't listen to it. So that inner voice, that knowing, that innate wisdom that we have, it never fails you. So listen to it. It is going to work, and it is going to point you in the right direction. I would say create your tribe and find the right people to surround yourself with. You know, people who love you, who support you, who understand you and get you. People who will push you to grow, and most importantly, people you can ask for help, because it's something that I think we all struggle with at times, but you need help, and you need people that will cheer for you when you don't want to cheer for yourself at times. So that's really important. And then I guess for the moms listening out there, because I was a mom already, you know, when I came out of chiropractic college, I would say that it's going to be worth it. You know, all those late nights, the sleepless nights, the breastfeeding, the non-sexy, non-glamorous times of motherhood, of parenthood, I guess, for the guys as well. But it is going to be worth it. You know, you can't measure what those days of connection and physical demand that you're giving your children when they're infants and toddlers and school-age kids, how they're going to turn out. But I would definitely say that my sons, where they're at now, being a teenager and a 10-year-old, that connection that I have with them has definitely come from those times that I invested with them when they were younger. So if you're a mom, know that you can have it all. Know that you can create a life that allows you to be the kind of mom you want to be and the kind of doctor that you want to be. You just got to make sure that it's on your terms, and also understand that sometimes we have different seasons in our life as women, and sometimes you need to step out of practice while your kids are little and then get back in. And there's no rules, just make your own rules.
Yeah, I love that. There are no rules. I mean, if you were to ask, and I think it's probably the same for many of us who are practicing chiropractors or, you know, business people, and that is that where you are in your business now is not a reflection of where you're going to be even 12 months from now. It's crazy how life works that way. Like, it's
Absolutely.
Just crazy. Yeah. So I'd like to ask you actually for an invaluable resource. So anything that you're reading, listening to, anything that you think that docs should just check out right now that's going to help support them in their practice or life today?
Yeah, I think as docs, we need to be constantly learning. Podcasts, you know, have been invaluable to me. I listen to them when I'm working out, when I'm in the car. I mean, nowadays you can listen to so many different varieties of topics. This one has been a great one that I've enjoyed thoroughly, just to feel connected to other doctors and to know that you're not alone, you know, in the challenge that we're facing clinically. Books, I mean, I'm one of those people that I literally have 10 books on the go at one time, because I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And that means if I want to read a book about parenting, I want to read a book about philosophy, I want to read a book about training. I like to keep learning in all those different ways. However, I would say that my most valuable resource that I have in my life right now is neither of those. It would be people. I have a mastermind call that I am on with 3 other chiropractors every week, Thursday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary, and it is the best thing that I have as a chiropractor, because it's, you know, combined we have, you know, one doc is 30 years of practice, another woman is probably close to 20, I'm at 15, and so is another colleague of mine. So we've been such supportive resources for people. Every week I'm on the phone with them, and we built obviously really close relationships. We have a lot of fun together, but you know, there's clinical gems that I'm learning constantly from these 3 other people. So And that goes along with coaching and mentorship is also a key thing. So I think the most invaluable resource for me would be, learning, whether it's from other people, creating a right group for you, or podcasts and books. So I know I wasn't really specific there, but I can't advocate the purpose of a mastermind group and the value that that's given me enough.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. And so listeners, you can actually head over to thechiropracticphilanthropist.com, and we'll have a webpage dedicated to our discussion today with Dr. Melissa Longo as well. And we're going to have all those clickable resources. Dr. Melissa, I got to thank you so much for coming on to TCP today. You've inspired me with the practice discussion, but incredibly unique value that you bring also to the profession and to our colleagues. So thank you so much for giving back.
Well, thank you, Ed, and thank you for what you're doing and for creating this forum for all of us to feel connected. It's a wonderful thing.
So you've heard the struggles, you've heard the successes, and this episode is done. But there's still so much more to come and so much more to learn. Head on over to the chiropracticphilanthropist.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive free practice building tips and strategies, including how to market your practice with your very own podcast and so much more. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Chiropractic Philanthropist.